Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with writer and creator Justin Koch, here to promote his new graphic novel, Edge of Darkness, coming soon to Kickstarter on September 2nd. Welcome, Justin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us today, but outside my introduction, who is Justin Koch in his own words?
Uh, I live in Columbia, Missouri, which is kind of right in the middle between St. Louis and Columbia, or St. Louis and Kansas City. So, uh, right in the middle of flyover country, basically, I guess. But it's a lovely town. And I'm a lawyer. I lift weights. I write comics. I cook things. It's a pretty simple life. So.
Uh-huh. Well, what is Edge of Darkness about?
Edge of Darkness is it's set in a world. It's a far future world where the human race has been living underwater beneath the edge of darkness, which is the line in the it would actually exist where the sun doesn't penetrate any further, right? There's no light past that point. And so they've been living under there for who knows how long exactly, and things have gotten really weird. They've been living in a sponge, a giant, kind of, they use biotech to do everything, right? There's no metal. So everything's bone or grown or, whatever. And so they're living in this organic sponge underwater, and they make these suits, they grow these suits like a giant squid or a giant whale or a giant shark, and then they sort of plug into the suit and become the suit so they can swim around. On that level, it's an exploration of. I've always been fascinated by the concept of how other creatures perceive the universe completely differently than us. And so this is kind of an opportunity to explore that, where you're plugging in and experiencing the world as a cockeyed squid or as a shark, and it's just a whole different thing. And so religiously, they feel like the sun has cursed them. They're sun worshipers who have never seen the sun.
Mhm.
And so they feel like they've been isolated, and then they're trying to go back and see the sun for the first time in ever, millions of years. So that's the basic rundown of the idea. It's kind of a dystopian society, honestly. But and on some level, the story is kind of about emerging from depression, honestly, like symbolically or emotionally. So that's what it's about. But it's really I love the art by Leonardo. I think it really captures the sense of sort of smothering claustrophobia, which is probably not make it that you want out of something like this, where it's all deep sea and dark and pressure. I
Mhm.
mean, literally, there's tons and tons of pressure. So, um, so he really captured the mood, I think, very well.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you said that they're experiencing, I guess, the perspective of the sea creature. Um because I wonder, maybe you put this in there, or if you ever thought about it, or maybe I just came up with it. About how sea creatures, a lot of them have been living for, like, hundreds of years. And even there are sea creatures that we don't even know about, from what from what I've heard, that
Yeah.
we haven't been recorded yet. So maybe that would be interesting, something to explore if you haven't already. That'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, it's wide open. I mean, what I did was I basically just took any sea creature ever, right? So there's a lot of extinct species that I use, like the helicorpion, which is this shark that had like a weird jaw that was shaped like a saw blade,
Mhm.
or the hallucigenia, which is this weird creature from God knows how long ago. And of course, they're all way larger than they would be in real life typically. Deep sea creatures are very, very small. You know that anglerfish that they show, the really ugly one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it always looks like it's this big, but it's actually like this big
Uh-huh.
because there's just no food down there. But we're ignoring all of that for the sake of, the comic. So
Um, well, you mentioned your collaborator Leonardo, that you worked with on this project. So how did you, I guess, find him and know that he was the right person to work with?
I think I found him on Comic Book Collabs, which is a subreddit dedicated to, collaboration with comics. I think that's where I found him. And I just saw his stuff. I mean, if you go to his Instagram page, I don't think I've seen anyone like him artistically, honestly, in the comics world. And it's just it's a whole different vibe. And I saw it and I went, yes. And he really took to it as well. He's about as committed to this project as I am, and I'm very committed. Um, so it was just a real natural fit. I think he saw it and saw what he could do with it, and I mean, he just went and did some amazing stuff. Uh,
Hmm.
like I've gasped at some of it, honestly. Like if you look at it really closely, it's quite beautiful. So.
Well, just can you walk us through, I guess, your creative process for Edge of Darkness, like from concept to completion, and how it may or may not have differed from your previous work, SWAT?
Well, this is actually, I mean, chronologically, it's coming out after SWAT, but I wrote this first. Um, I spent, I spent the bulk of my life writing novels and short stories and trying to stuff like that. I wrote like 10 novels in my 30s, and two of them got published in the most pathetic way possible that involved me getting money and not me paying for it.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it is what it is. I have no illusions about it. It was the heyday of that Amazon, let's just throw a bunch of genre fiction on there and sell it thing of a decade ago. Um, and I just really struggled with it. I mean, I occasionally got the reaction I want from people, but I think I should have just been doing comics the entire time, because all these ideas that I was struggling with to get across on the page, just they come across they just work in comics. I love how imaginatively free it is, right? And I love that you can just show this wetsuit and people will figure it out in a way that what you would have had to take 5,000 words to get them to understand it if you were, so I got bored with the novel I was writing. I think I was like 80,000 words into it, and I just like kind of ground to a halt creatively. And so I was sitting in this exact chair, and I just popped open Scrivener and loaded up a comic, template and started going. So there was no plan. I just started writing, and
Mm.
what came out. And that's usually when there needs to be at least some element of just your imagination going buck wild, and or for it to be, I think, for at least for me to be really good, or one of my better ideas, it has to come out of the subconscious more than the conscious. But I mean, it was based on a couple of different things I was reading. Like, I mean, there was a book about it called Beneath the Edge of Darkness, which is this memoir about this lady who's a scientist and all the stuff. It's like a science memoir kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that directly inspired it. Um, and then there was, just I kind of often thought about, becoming other creatures and what that would be like. I mean, that's kind of been a long-term fascination. So it just sort of merged together and just exploded. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, my process is it just happened. So, but
Well, so you said that you actually started this first, and then but you published SWAT first. So I guess this Edge of Darkness would have been more of like a work in progress before you moved on to SWAT, finished that and published it, and then came back to this. So do you have any other work that are like works in progress and or even abandoned stories? And I guess what advice would you offer to people who have those like to
well,
who
I
have it?
mean, okay, well, so I have any number of projects that I've started or written an issue of, and that's it. Like conceptually, I'm loaded. I don't need any more. Um, there's Real Gladiators of Housewife County, which is a far future pro wrestling thing where people have used, like, they actually grow two hearts so that you can stab them in one and they'll be fine. And so it basically what if pro wrestling was really real. Um, how weird would that get? There's Soul Suckers, which is kind of a Ghostbusters thing where these guys started Ghostbusting franchise, and I finished one issue of that. I don't know if it went anywhere. There's Baby Gun, who is a baby who can apparate guns whenever he gets scared. So he gets arrested for killing his OBGYN, and then it goes from there.
Oh,
Um, there's oh god, I have a ton of what else have I done? There's a Frankenstein Ahab thing where they basically they're in a Lovecraftian world and they're sort of teamed up. Um, which sounds stupid, but it's actually awesome. Um, and then, I mean, I have so many things, man. I mean, there's a ton of ideas, but as far as advice to like getting them going, I mean, sometimes, sometimes there's just like you might just need another idea, right? Like you're almost there, you've got 80% of it, but for it to really, you just need something else. So read lots and lots of books because you'll find the something else in there probably. I read a bunch of nonfiction just looking for like writing prompts, basically like cool things or dumb names or whatever. I actually have I have a file called dumb names, where I write down dumb names. Um, let me get it up. But yeah, I mean, you kind of you have to just layer the ideas until it pops, and then at least that's how I work. Is and so sometimes it comes together pretty naturally that way, but you realize like it's 4 or 5 different ideas that you had sort of on top of each other. Um, so some of the dumb names I've written down, there aren't that many. Syrachius Spangenberg, Andreas Musculus, Urbane Grandier, Roger Fuck by the Navel. That's the first recorded use of fuck in the English language. Um, I don't think it quite meant what it meant now, but anyway, and Symphorian Champlain, stuff like that. Just you write down ideas like that, and then they come back later. One of the characters in SWAT's named Argula von Glombach because that's just some lady that was a writer that I saw, and I'm like, that's a ridiculous name. So
So
let's
these
take
are
it.
actual names.
Mhm.
Oh
Random
wow.
people from like 1400s. Yeah, no, those are all real people. Um, so I like to grab those and just keep them around and just sort of I guess I view creativity as sort of like a blender. You take a bunch of different ideas, you hit them up, you blend them, something interesting pops out. Sometimes, you know,
Uh-huh.
there's going to be a high fail rate, but that's okay.
So you said in your previous crowdfunding that crowdfunder that you were on Zoop first and then you came over to Kickstarter. So how have the two compared in I guess in your opinion?
Well, I mean, Zoop is cool, but I feel like it's too obscure for a guy trying to start up, his comics career. Like I have to climb the hill of explaining what Zoop is, and then climb the hill of who I am,
Mhm.
and that's just too much. So that's kind of why I moved to Kickstarters. Zoop was awesome, but I think the projects that are most successful there are the projects from people that are already very successful. Like I think right now they're doing an Art of Descender um, book, which think Descender's Jeff Lemire, or maybe it's Rick Remender. But it's really cool series. Check it out. But they're already massively successful, so they can bring their own fans to it. Whereas I'm bringing my mom, right? So, um, so I went to Kickstarter because I had multiple people tell me that I basically uh, cut my audience by 75% just by being on Zoop. Um,
Um,
so it's not where I would recommend starting. I mean, lovely people. I have no beef with them whatsoever, but it's just too hard to
mhm.
try both at the same time. So that's why I went to Kickstarter. Um, there's a lot less human interaction with Kickstarter, but I'm okay with that, really. So, but you set up your whole thing, and then it just kind of it's pretty nice. They're slick. They know what they're doing.
Mhm.
You know.
So how has it been starting your Kickstarter or at least promoting it before it starts doing back to school season?
This has probably been the worst year to start doing comics. I mean, like, shoot, right around the time, I think it was, when did Trump get shot? I think that was
It was
during my SWAT campaign.
oh
So
wow.
everyone's talking about that. I'm actually doing it in September because I've been told that basically this is the last month out of the year where you want to do one of these, and then after that, Christmas is just going to ruin it.
Yeah.
So there's always a battle. I learned a lot about promotion, I think, from that other campaign, at SWAT. I mean, I really enjoy doing podcasts and stuff, so that's great. But the posting to Facebook, I don't know that I guess it works, but man, it is a slog. I feel bad about spamming everything everywhere, but that's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
You just got to do it, or otherwise you get lost. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of the Kickstarter, is there anything else you want to share about Edge of Darkness? Maybe the rewards for potential backers they can look forward to once the campaign
yeah.
launches?
Um, well, right now the plan is we're going to have three different stickers that you can get. And I'll show them to you here in a second because I think they're really cool. This is one of the stickers. This is a real creature in the sea right now. It's kind of a hybrid of two different things and sort of wanders around killing. It's basically a jellyfish, but it's not. This is Helicorpion, which is, I think I'm going to get this as a tattoo, honestly. But it's a shark with that saw blade jaw. He's really cool. And then, of course, there's the Kraken, which is a major character in the in Edge of Darkness. And then there's Hallucigenia, which is that thing, which is named that because it looks like a hallucination. So those are the stickers we have at this point. They'll be like 2 inches by 3 inches, about yay big.
Uh-huh. Those would
You know,
be really cool as like holographic um stickers, especially that shark one.
yeah, I might look into that. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, so there'll be a printed version, a digital version, but we're kind of trying to keep it simple because the costs on these things can, like the goal is 3,000, and if we're really lucky, that's basically going to pay for the art and the lettering, and then I'm going to be going out of pocket for everything else.
Mhm.
Uh, so you don't want to like overdo it and then end up with all these commitments that you know if you're if you find the concept intriguing, I think you're going to be find it intriguing. My wife thinks I invented a subgenre. um so if that's good, it'll sell. If not, then the sticker is probably not going to put you over the top, right? So uh,
Yeah.
that's my thought process. So
All right. Well, I mean, you talked about other work that you have. Will you be going to any cons this year or sometime next year?
I'd love to. I mean, I currently don't have, so I don't have a comic to sell at this point. So I think I'm going to wait until I have at least a couple of issues and stuff before I start trying to work the circuit.
Hmm.
Uh, one of the downsides of being in Columbia is that everything is a 2 hour drive away at least, right? If not
Yeah.
more. Um, so I mean, I'd be happy to do that, but I definitely would like to at least recoup my gas before
Yeah.
you know. Um, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess whenever you get around to it, I try to give advice to people about cons because I've done the con circuit is exhausting. But if you could share a table with someone, that helps out a lot. As far as you can recoup
Yeah,
um
that
your
makes sense.
expenses a lot quicker. Um, Going to local ones, I mean, like you said, everything's a 2 hour drive, so it's not that local.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Kansas City, St. Louis, fine, but it's like
Uh,
Chicago's 6 or 7 hours,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Um, so I mean, that's far afield though. I need to have a comic to sell for before I start worrying about that kind of thing, right?
yeah,
So
that
I
makes
hope
sense.
that I mean I've submitted both of these to quite a few comic places, publishers. Hopefully, I will hear back, some good news at some point soon because I hear a different story from everybody about how long it takes. So I don't know whether I've been, silently rejected or if it just takes this long or what. Uh,
Mhm.
but you'd think that at least send you an email telling me to fuck off, right? So
Yeah,
um,
you would hope, yeah. But Justin, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at Justin Coke Real, and then Threads Justin Coke 6161. Of course, I'm on Facebook, um, which has a thriving indie comic scene, but it also has an inordinate number of scammers
Yeah.
that would hit you up. constantly for stuff. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, Twitter, Threads, mostly active on Facebook, to be honest, but that's going to change. I need to have a more, I kind of despise social media, so I'm kind of starting from square one there.
Mhm.
In terms of, I just didn't care before, but I have to care now. So,
Yeah.
building that presence a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you again to writer and creator Justin Koch for joining us here today to promote his new graphic novel, Edge of Darkness, coming soon to Kickstarter on September 2nd. All of Justin's socials, as he just said, will be listed in this episode's details alongside the Kickstarter link for those who are interested. Again, I'm KS Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.